Welcome to Invest. We talk about investing, finance, and professional development. As the current time of 9:33 a.m. on Eastern Time, Ethereum closed $2,666, down about 3% so far. Respect over crypto market and the equity market on this Friday morning. It's been relatively flat to down at the moment across the board. With crypto, still seems like we are extending the losses from the Thursday massive sell-off. From obviously the fear mongering that's been cultivating from two major catalysts, right? One is with respect to the Bank of England chairman depicting on the negative economic outlook with respect to this interest hikes from 25 basis point to 50 basis point. And then secondly, with respect to the negative production efficiency number came out from the Department of Statistics. And as of this morning, we have another new payroll number that has released. And with respect to this report, it came out to be actually positive. But because of the overshadowing negative affectation from the previous day, investors are also digesting this with a grain of salt, knowing the fact that today is also a Friday as well. It kind of got muted or mitigated despite a positive report, right? But with respect to this report, a high-level synopsis, the job growth accelerated by 428,000 in April, which is more than expected as job picture stays strong compared to Wall Street expectation, right? And with respect to the comparisons from the Dow Jones estimate, the estimate from Dow Jones was 400,000, right? So we beat it by 28,000. And basically, the number stays flat and is identical to March. With respect to the unemployment rate, on a quantitative perspective, it held by 3.6% after being expected to notch lower by 0.1% in comparisons to Wall Street expectation. And what's the driver of this report, right? It's basically coming from leisure, hospitality, followed by manufacturing, transportation, and warehousing. And in addition to that, on some supplementary data as well, wages also has risen by 0.3%, and we're up 5.5% from a year ago, which is around the same compared to last month as well, right? So two negative catalysts combined today is a Friday affectation. People are more reluctant to be buying than selling. So despite this positive report, the sentiment across the market is relatively negative still. So driving the sell-off that we're still seeing in front of us. Seems like the depression is still lingering on. As the depression mode is oftentimes like a downward volatile wave. Like if you talk about like in the ocean where you have your little boat, which is aka your portfolio, and you kind of just like gliding by. Sometimes you have like really high tide, sometimes you have really low tide, and sometimes you could potentially sink. But if you hold on to your boats, right, eventually you'll know that you'll glide back out to nearby an island where you will be rescued. But in the meantime, we are, in that fear stir of that whirlpool that they're in the middle of it right now. So definitely not the ideal time to be selling, right? Definitely the time to be holding on and not let emotion drive your fear into making the wrong decision, right? So let's just dive into the technical to see what's going on now with respect to the market. So it's opening on a relatively high reactionary perspective. You could see that clearly across the board for the key coins, about 3% respectively. If you add that with the red candle we've had yesterday, you can see that we broke through the trends that we've been forming. Right now, we're in between levels of 2,750 versus 2,531, right? And do we think we have a shot of actually going down to the 2,531 based on the current leap down right now, knowing the fact that the MACD is already crossed down for quite some time, looking for some sort of a landing field as you allow to cross up eventually. And the inertia is kind of normalizing. Yesterday, we had a relatively sharp drop from the peak of the mountain as we were hitting 49 out of 70, right? You could see that clearly right here with the 37 out of 70 right now. So I think bouncing from, I think the worst will be 25.31 will be very logical. And in a risk management perspective, like based on your logical assumption, right, do you think this is a good level of setup for you to incur risk right now? Ultimately, what I'm talking about is not a prediction, right? This is a risk management setup. And based on the assessment that we have, that we perform on a day-to-day basis, do you think this is a good level for you to incur risk? My assumption is that I think so, because it translates well on the technicals and also with respect to next technical level as well. And checking on the weekly as well, you can see that clearly we broke through the trend a little bit, but at the same time it's similar in affectation. MACD is below. At the same time, we are also relatively oversold on a weekly perspective at 42 out of 70. And then looking on the monthly, we are also crossed down. You can see that we clearly broke through the trend a little bit as well at the 54 out of 70. So it's tolerable across the board, right? Respect to Bitcoin, down about 3% right now. Let's look at this on the daily. You can see that clearly we are going down to the next level of comfort, which is somewhere around the 34,500, with a 35 out of 70 right now, crossed down and crossed up recently. So eventually we're going to bounce from somewhere around 35, and as we get there, we should technically rebound from there, knowing the fact that we're relatively oversold, right? But remember, today's a Friday, so people are going to be reacting a little bit more severely than typically, right? In respect to Classic, right, Ethereum Classic, anywhere from basically excuse me, 26 below is logical to DCA, right? Right now at 27, I think it's tolerable. Dogecoin down about 3%, 12 cents right now. Anywhere from basically 12 cents to below, all the way to 11 is fair to DCA. Respect to Cardano, down about 3% so far. Anywhere from basically 75 to below is logical to DCA. Solana, right, 85 to 75 from here would be logical to DCA, right, based on the current setup. XRP 69 to 57 would be logical DCA. We are already kind of plateauing and reversing back up. Polkadot's down about 11% right now. You can see that clearly we continue to sell down. We are forming a new low, right? Not yet. We are kind of sliding off the cliff right now. In terms of where was the previous resistance bottom, let's take a look at it closely. You can see that clearly we are at the $14 right now. It's going to slide down all the way to like $12 from here, based on the current setup. And I think the setup right now is not terrible because of the 31 out of 70s mark right now. And at the same time, we will eventually cross up anyways, right? So the setup looks good. 12 cents can be a possibility. In respect to Algorand, about 7%, anywhere from basically current level down to 53, logical to DCA. Shiba Inu, we broke 2100, so 2100 going down to 1400 to 900 would be the frames to expect going forward. Respect to MACTAC, down about 4% right now. We're at 101 right now, so if we break $1, we have a long way to go down to somewhere around 95 first, and then subsequently 87, and then subsequently to 75 from here, right? So I think probably watch out, maybe DCA a little bit around $1, but if we break a $1, you have quite a long way to go, right? AVAX down about 6% so far. With respect to current level, 60 to 50 would be a good level of DCA. Luna at 78, right? As we break 78 or 75, right, which is a level that if you break it, 62, 52 to 45 would be the next levels to go down, right? With the 41 out of 70 right now. All right, so it's a relatively bloody Friday all over again. Obviously, the relief rally only happened for like half a day, not even. And then subsequently with just a bunch of negative news, mixed with today, I guess a positive news, from the job growth number, which technically, the mandate from the Feds, to triangulate the interest hikes is really contingent on the job numbers, right? So the job numbers came out good, so it's mitigating the previous negative days that we've had, right? So like with the fear that you're feeling right now, definitely not the time to be selling for no reason, right? Definitely the time to be like holding on. You're on a roller coaster right now, or you're on like a tiny boat in the middle of Pacific or Atlantic Ocean, if you may, right? And you are like in between the whirlpool and the storm right now. And to not freak out and like completely and not get annihilated is to hold on to the boats, right? And eventually the boats will allow you to recover, right? and allow that buoyancy. And as you get lower and lower to the high pressurized area, which, you know, as the price go down further and further to the RSI level, it will bounce eventually, because the market dynamic will reject and subsequently propel you back up, right? So it's definitely Wild Wild West, but stay strong mentally and allow technical to take over. And let me know if you have any questions. Appreciate you. Take care. Bye.